Hi.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. We have both pugs today. This is Obi. And as you can see, Little Bear is chilling out. So,
How goes it?
yeah, today was a day. Today was a day. I did homemakery things. I made lotion.
I took a nap.
Yeah, he took a nap like all freaking day. What else did we do?
Ate hot dogs.
I feel like I did something else. I did my live stream, but I don't know what else I did.
I took a nap. With loed.
I made lotion.
She's still sleepy.
She sleeps all the time. No, there was something else I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember what it is now. It's gone. Maybe it'll come to me.
Maybe.
We're in Judges today, and Samson was a real hard-headed person. He reminds me a lot of us. Well, I guess we're all hard-headed at some point in time.
And with that, we'll pray.
Yes.
Dear Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for rain, because I love the rain. And I thank you for naps and being able to rest. And I thank you for this time to sit down and study with my wife in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Obi is not wanting to sit down and study. Obi is wanting to flop. Obi will sit, then we can keep Obi. Alrighty, so we ended up in Judges 14 for our homework. Dude, there was something really important I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember. Oh well. Okay, so in Samson's marriage, so do we want to just give a real quick synopsis of who Samson was? Samson's a judge in the book of Judges. Israel was doing evil in the sight of God. And this woman named Manoah had no kids. So she's praying to God, praying to God, praying to God to have a kid. God says, yes, I'm going to give you a kid. And you need to make him a Nazirite. He can't cut his hair, doesn't drink wine, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, okay. And the Lord blessed him, and the Spirit of the Lord began to stir on him, and he was blessed, right? So fast forward ahead, and he's an adult now. And in Judges 14, which was your guys' homework, he goes and he sees a Philistine woman.
And he wants to marry her. But don't forget. Go back.
Oh, sorry.
Where's all the things he wasn't supposed to do?
He wasn't supposed to cut his hair. He wasn't supposed to touch anything unclean. He wasn't supposed to definitely marry anybody that wasn't an Israelite. He wasn't supposed to drink wine. I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those were all the things he wasn't supposed to do. So then in the next chapter, it promptly, oh, hi Ashley and Nicole. Night. Thanks for you guys coming in. So in Judges 14, we see
all the things that he wasn't supposed to do that he did.
He did them. Every single one. Every single one. He wants to marry a Philistine woman. And his mom and dad are like, why? Why can't you marry anybody that's an Israelite? Why can't you find somebody within your own people? Now, this isn't like a racist comment or anything. Like, this wasn't in regard to that. The Israelites were supposed to marry within their own people. Especially him, because he had taken this Nazirite law and was a blessing from God.
But Samson said to his father, get her for me. She's the right one for me. Now, his parents didn't know that this was from the Lord, who was seeking an occasion to confront the Philistines, for at that time they were ruling over Israel. So once again, we came out of Egypt, we went to the promised land, and now we're back into being under the ruling of someone else. So
because they did evil in the sight of God.
Yeah.
They put themselves there. So because the Israelites made poor choices, they were stuck underneath the Philistines. Because Samson made poor choices.
We'll see what happens to him.
Yes, let's see.
Oh, and then we were kind of bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, so it's a hard one. This really caused a little bit of a debate.
On Samson and his parents' relationship.
Samson and his parents?
Mm-hmm. Because he was the one that they prayed for and they got him.
Yes.
So maybe they treated him.
Maybe they didn't instill in him the need to act a certain way. Like, I think he knew he was supposed to not do those things, but I feel like they centered on you're blessed by God.
Not receiving audio.
Not receiving audio. Let's see. Don't know why we're not receiving audio. The audio's up. All the audio's on. Sorry. Huh.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us now? It shouldn't be covered. We are able to hear you. Thank you, Ashley. Alrighty. So, what were we?
So maybe he's the golden child.
Yes, maybe he was the golden child. Maybe they didn't instill in him the need to really follow these things. And so what happened is, maybe he just thought they were nice suggestions, but not really a necessity for him to do.
And he kind of threw a fit and said, "Get her for me."
Yeah. And God knew his tendencies, so God was allowing him to make these poor choices and suffer the consequences for his choices. Because, as we see, he's going on. They're all going towards this place to get this girl. And in verse 6, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him because a lion is attacking him. Now, we never have things like this happen. I guess this would be like getting robbed or something. Like getting, I don't know, something like
getting attacked by a lion.
Well,
Lion King. Or Tiger King.
So anyway, he kills the lion. He tears the lion apart. That's just amazing. But he doesn't tell anybody. It says he tears it apart like a young goat. Which, see, these are just references. I've never teared apart a young goat, nor have I had a powerful lion attack me. But this is what the word picture is for you, okay? So they go to the wedding. They get the woman. It becomes she's gonna be his wife, and then he's going back, and he's going back to visit her, and then he passes by that carcass, right? And in the carcass is some honey. The bees have made honey, and he's that friend that I cannot hear you. Bob can't hear us.
I'm not sure why.
I'm not sure why, Bob. I'm sorry. So yeah, they end up going down. Okay, Ashley and Nicole are watching with you. So they're both watching, but Bob can't hear. I don't know why Bob can't hear. They went down to see them, and he saw the honey that was in the lion's carcass.
So he scoops some out.
Yes. With
his hands.
And he goes and he takes it to the feast, and they're all eating it, and everybody thought it was great.
When he rejoined his parents, he gave them some, and they ate it too. But he did not tell him that he had taken the honey from the lion's carcass. Once again, he's being a bad kid.
Because he's not supposed to eat out of dead, or not eat. Obviously, we're not supposed to eat out of dead things. He's not supposed to touch anything unclean, which a dead carcass is unclean. Live carcass is not a carcass. Sorry. Anyway.
And he just didn't even tell his parents. He just let them partake in eating out of the dead thing. He's just gangster.
So his father, they went down to see the woman, and he tells them the riddle of, out of the eater something to eat, out of the strong something sweet. So because he knew that he got this honey out of this lion, right? Well, they don't know it, and there's this bet that if they guess it, the men at the wedding feast, if they guess what the riddle is, that they get 30 pieces of clothing from Samson. And if they can't guess, then Samson gets 30 pieces of clothing from them. Well, these people get so mad at this girl that they threaten her that they're going to burn her and her father's household down. And so guess what she does?
Well, they threatened her if she didn't get the answer.
Yes. So she continued to press him and press him and press him and whine and complain.
No, she cried.
For 7 days, for the entire 7-day feast. And finally, he tells her. So they tell him. And this is his reply.
If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle.
So, he's indicating his wife is a heifer. And if they wouldn't have plowed her for the answer, they wouldn't have won the bet. So, this is the second time in this same chapter that we hear that the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. The first time, he used that Spirit of the Lord to defend himself from this lion that was attacking him. This second time, he goes to Ashkelon, strikes down 30 of their men, takes their clothing, and gives it to these men that he lost the bet to. And says, here, you want some clothing? Take these off the dead people.
And then with burning anger, he returned to his father's home. Burning.
Yeah, he's not happy. And so Samson's wife was given to one of his companions who was attending him at the feast. Yeah. So there's that. So that's pretty much not good. So then we go on and he has vengeance. So now it's just, this is the next verse. Okay, next verse, next chapter. Later on, at the time of wheat harvest, Samson took a young goat and went to visit his wife. His wife that he left there with the angry people and the dead people's clothes, and that had been given to the companion as their wife. So now he finds out that she's been given away in chapter 15. He's a little peeved. He, what shall you say? What say you?
Oh, he grabbed the foxes.
Well, I wasn't going to go into all of that, but you can if you'd like. You've already said foxes. Now they're waiting to know what happened to the foxes.
Oh, he grabbed the foxes, tied them together, set their tails on fire, and let them go in the fields that they hadn't harvested yet. It was time for the harvest, but they hadn't harvested yet. So the crops all burnt up.
And then he just slaughtered them all. Slaughtered many of them.
Well, so the Philistines went up and burned her and her father to death. So Samson said to them, since you have acted like this, I swear that I won't stop until I get my revenge on you.
Not God's vengeance. His
own.
vengeance. For his own bad actions. God doesn't give you the choice to have vengeance for your own poor choices. That's not how that works. So anyway, he's just burning with anger, and he goes on, and he's continued to be angry, and he kills off a bunch of Philistines. And the end of chapter 15 of Judges says, Samson led Israel for 20 years in the days of the Philistines. Doesn't exactly say that Israel was amazing and he was such a righteous man and he led them wonderfully. It just said this is what he did. And led also means judge. So he was a judge. So there you go. Well, Judges 16 is what we're really talking about tonight, because this is the key of Samson's life, where he really stuck with what he did.
So sometime later, he fell in love with a woman in the valley of
Sorek,
whose name was Delilah.
And the rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, see if you can lure him into telling him the secret of the strength so we can subdue him, each one of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver, which was 28 pounds of silver. And I don't know how many of them there were, but one person with 28 pounds of silver is a lot. So if there was several of them, that's a lot of several 28 pounds of silver. So
the reason they wanted to know that, though, is because he was just like laying waste to the Philistines.
yeah, totally destroying them. But he was totally not following what he was supposed to be doing either.
So he'd beat up the Philistines, then he'd go hang out with them.
Yeah.
Beat him up, go hang out. Beat him up, go hang out.
So much fun because you can't get rid of him because he's like that guest that won't go away and you just stuck with them. So here he is. And with such nagging, she prodded him day after day until he was sick to death of it. Sick to death.
Does that kind of remind you of anybody else? How God was tired of the Israelites.
Oh, see, I was thinking he was saying he was sick to death of me right there. I was just about to get a little upset. Yes, God was. Wasn't he? He was so, how long will I deal with these grumbling people? That's how he was, right?
Said it twice.
How long? So, he is just disgusted. And he's just being nagged and prodded and sick to death of it. He could have walked out, but instead he stayed there, listening to her nagging until the point where he was just through. And he just gave her the right answer.
So he told her everything.
Everything.
No razor has ever been used on my head, he said, because I have been a Nazarite dedicated to God from my mother's womb. So he knows.
He knows
what he is.
And he just chose to act like a bad person.
Bad kid.
Bad kid.
If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man. Now get this. She tied him up with the ropes and said, Samson, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. He broke the ropes.
Fabric on the loom. What was the other one? Just a bunch of ridiculous things. Braids. Yeah.
And every time, Samson, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. Oh, break loose, lay waste. But after prodding, after she keeps saying, there's a wolf, there's a wolf.
There's really a wolf.
He finally tells her the true strength. What will take his strength? Dense?
He's just not very bright. Maybe he's not thinking with the right parts of his body. So, he woke up from his sleep when she says, Samson, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. And I'll go out from like before and shake myself free. But he didn't know the Lord had left him.
Because he was bald-headed.
Bald-headed. Got bald head. They seized him, gouged out his eyes, took him to Gaza. He's bound and shackled and grinding grain, but...
Like Conan the Barbarian.
Yes, that's exactly what he said.
Where he was just pushing the wheel by himself.
Oh, Mario's here. Hi, Mario.
Hey, Mario.
Yes, he is definitely like Conan, pushing the millstone, but
the hair on his head began to grow again after it had been shaved. Just like Conan got stronger by pushing that wheel.
Of course, they had him chained there from a child till he was an adult man. That could have been why he got stronger too, but yes. So, his hair started to grow. They didn't notice. They're just thrilled with having their monkey running around in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
And, you want to see this? We're going here?
Yeah.
Now the rulers of the Philistines assembled to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon, their god, and to celebrate, saying, our God has delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands. So
everybody, it was like the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. We're going to have everybody here. We're going to bring in that big old guy and have him strapped to these temple poles. And
everybody's there.
Everybody's going to laugh at him.
The rich people.
And look what we've done. Now, out of all of these 3 chapters, the whole of Samson's life, it never says that Samson prayed to the Lord. But finally, these last 3 verses, for a few verses of his life, Samson prayed to the Lord, Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just once more. And let me, with one blow, get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes.
Then Samson lifted toward the 2 central pillars on which the temple stood, bracing himself against them, as his right hand on the one and his left hand on the other.
And then Samson says, let me die with the Philistines!
Then he pushed with all his might, and down came the temple on the rulers and the people in it. Thus he killed many more when he died than while he lived. And he killed a lot of people while he was alive.
So it started out that his parents didn't know that this was from the Lord, who was seeking an occasion to confront the Philistines on behalf of Israel. They knew their son was blessed. They knew their son was theirs for a purpose. They didn't understand how that purpose was going to work out. And in the end...
Maybe they asked for him, but then once they got him, they just didn't.
They weren't very praying for specifics on what they wanted from him. I don't know. But they were stuck with him. And it at the end of this chapter 16, it says that his brothers and his father's whole family went down to get him. So God in his great mercy gave her more children, knowing that Samson was going to be who he was. So that's nice. And, you're stuck with what you get. This was her son. This was the son that she was given. And that's who she had. And he made his poor choices, and he was stuck with those choices. They were the choices he did. He was stuck with the consequences of his actions.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't stick to their guns when
They didn't stick to their guns.
When he was going down the road of being hard-headed, they didn't stick to their guns.
And the wife from the beginning that told the riddle's answer, she was not stuck with having to lie to Samson. She could have told Samson, hey, if you don't tell me the answer to this riddle, they're going to burn me and my father's household. But instead, she had to prod him to get the answer instead of just being honest with him. Everybody felt stuck in their poor choices and their poor decisions. But, that's not necessarily the case.
A lot of prodding.
But God uses our poor choices and our consequences sometimes in ways that we don't understand, because these poor choices and consequences were used to conquer the Philistines that were suppressing the Israelites. So
hey, Mark.
Here. In the end, his strength returned and he was redeemed. Yes and amen. So in the end, though we may be stuck with each other for a very long time, God will redeem the time that we've had together. And I think every day is a new thing that we learn. Every day is something new that we have gone through or done. Obi is having new days all the time. Obi is learning new things to be a better person or better dog than he is. Oh, that's what it was. We would watch cartoons with our kids so our kids would be entertained. Do you know what we did this evening? We watched dog TV for our dogs so our dogs would be entertained. This is what it's come to. I made lotion and we watched dog TV for our dogs. He's petting her paw toenails. Yep.
She was entertained.
She was quite entertained.
So if you guys have any pets out there,
you should definitely turn on dog TV.
Dog TV and watch
it. Wasn't so much for us to watch the dog TV. It was for us to watch the dog as the dog watched the dog TV. I couldn't believe the dogs were so into it. So there's something you could do while you're stuck. See? You're stuck with me.
So what did
I get?
What'd you get from Samson?
Gosh, man. You wouldn't have plowed my heifer, he said. What a horrible thing to say. He said, if you had not plowed with my heifer, you would have not solved my riddle. I don't want to be the heifer that got plowed to give my husband a bad situation. I don't want my poor choices to cause my husband harm. That was my takeaway.
That's your takeaway?
Yeah.
My takeaway was how the Lord still stayed faithful to Samson throughout this entire thing, without him not even being mention a prayer. The only prayer you hear about is his mom petitioning to have him.
Well, and then at the end,
and
his dying breath is the only prayer that's recorded. Yeah. How this we listed our key verses as the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. Yet when the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him, it was in two totally different situations. And he used those situations, neither one for a good outcome. I mean, like the one, he protected himself from the lion, but then that whole lion situation turned into a bad thing with his wife.
Oh, but don't forget.
And then the other, he used to attack all those people. So
remember, his parents did not know that this was from the Lord, who was seeking an occasion to confront the Philistines, for at that time they were ruling over Israel. So it was all part of God's plan.
It was.
And
totally.
Maybe his parents would have understood that if they were walking the way they should have been walking. Because obviously they weren't.
Everyone was doing evil in the sight of God. She had prayed to the Lord for a child because she was barren. And it doesn't say from the clan of the Danites had a wife. It doesn't necessarily say she was any better or worse than anybody else. She was just chosen. The angel of the Lord appeared to her and said, "You're barren and childless. You're gonna have a kid." So it's not like the Virgin Mary, where it's like you're so special. Like she was gonna have a special child, and he was going to be for a purpose. But sometimes we don't understand how those purposes work out. And if we did, we probably wouldn't want them to work out the way. I'm pretty sure she wouldn't have wanted her son to have to go down the path he went down. But
it was part of God's plan.
We're stuck with the choices that we make and the consequences of those choices. So.
But it's never too late.
Never too late. You can always choose to make a better choice.
Like Mark said.
Yes.
He was redeemed.
He was redeemed in the end. And it's not so much how you start, but how you end, how you finish. And he finished well. So that's what stuck with us. That's what stuck with us for today. And that takes us to our homework. Our homework is going to be Ruth for tomorrow. And we're going to go to Ruth. So if you want to read through Ruth, we're going to touch on Ruth.
Read the whole Ruth?
Well, Ruth is 4 chapters. They're very small. We're just going to condense it. I mean, if you can't read it all, no worries. Don't have to read it all. But it's like 2 pages. So it's 4 chapters, 2 pages.
But we're going to take this and tie it into...
Yes, because our homework for tomorrow is the Last Supper. Because tomorrow is Holy Thursday, or the remembrance of the Last Supper, because it would be the day that... No. The homework for tomorrow is the Last Supper, because Thursday would be the day that there was the Last Supper. So tomorrow we're going into Ruth, because Ruth, we're going to find out, is the great-grandmother to someone in Jesus' genealogy. See? So now you really want to read through Ruth to find out who that is, don't you?
And it all comes together.
It does all come together. Because the Bible is full of situations where people are stuck in, suffering the consequences of, but never out of God's reach or God's redemption. And God has always got a plan and a purpose for any and every situation that we go through.
Hence why we have the Old Testament and the New Testament. Because the New Testament is all being talked about.
Yes, they're very intertwined.
In the Old Testament.
Yes.
And it gives you the lineage bringing
of how you get there.
Yes. It's a road
Yes.
map.
It's a road map. Can't just get to destination without knowing how you got there.
Yeah.
It's not very important.
Can't just read the new thing.
I can still hear you.
Oh,
It's just our internet is so lovely.
it's because it's raining outside.
Oh yeah, we could say that. Alrighty guys, since our internet is shoddy, we're going to let you guys go. But we will see you guys tomorrow, 9 p.m. Thank you guys so much for letting us share a little longer with you. Mario and Mark are watching. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Hope that you can join us. Talk to you guys later.
And look for things to be happy to be stuck with.
Yes, look for the good in this stuck with situation.
Because you could be stuck taking a nap, which is really, really cool.
See what the internet thought of that?
Well.
It cut you out. I gave you a thumbs up. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.